What is up, ladies and gentlemen? I wish you a very nice morning. It's a beautiful morning here in studio. Welcome back to the channel. We're going to take a little bit of a time travel today to one of my old videos, vegan videos again, and we're gonna criticize it since that worked out so well last time, didn't it? So many comments, so many dislikes. We've triggered a bunch of people. Beautiful. I mean, you gotta be aware, I like making these, more climbing focused contents, more climbing focused videos with the beautiful analysis. And, then there is the one or the other comment here and there and a lot of likes, very little dislikes, because admittedly these videos, they are kind of educational and they work quite well for a lot of people, for the majority of people. But, it's kind of boring from time to time. I want to make one of these, I want to trigger my audience a little bit and, that's what makes being a YouTuber a little bit more fun, It makes it a little bit less boring, a little bit more exciting. And since that worked so well last time, why not do it again, Let's do it again. We're gonna criticize a video called Weight Loss, my take on it. 5 tips for becoming a greyhound. And this is actually a big one. It's got almost 50,000 views. So obviously because, weight loss, that's a topic that is very popular. Doesn't really matter which genre you're looking at, whether it's diet or whether it's sports, especially climbing, obviously, because everybody wants to be light as a climber, right? So got a lot of views. I posted this video on the 3rd of March in 2016. So that's pretty much exactly 3 years from now, just like roughly the first video that I criticized. So again, let's see whether I learned something new in the meantime, got a little bit wiser maybe in the meantime. And maybe I can also articulate this through this video. So this is as much as I want to tell you for the intro of this video. I'm going to try to keep it as uncut and as quick as possible. I don't have a lot of time left actually to record this. So yeah, let's get started. This intro, man.
What? You want to lose weight? Huh? I've done it a million times, bro. It's easy as.
Oh man.
Well, what can I tell you, bro? It's calories in, calories out, okay? It's all about caloric deficit. Consume less calories than you burn. Easy as.
Okay, so before we start, I still remember actually quite well filming this intro. I used my calculator, as a pseudo. What's the word for Fernbedienung? I don't know. The thing which you use to turn off and on a television from the distance. I don't know the word now in English. But I never had a television in my home. As soon as I lived by my own, I never had a television, and I still don't have any television. So I had to fake this thing actually with my calculator, and I faked the big belly with the pillow and everything. It was kind of funny, admittedly. And then we've got this beautiful intro again, and here is the point where I'm going to set the speed to 1.25 because, I haven't been into making YouTube videos for very long at this point, so I talked very, slowly and everything was kind of, considered, and also a few cuts.
From vegan rock climbing again. I just came home from a nice training session in the gym, and carbs are cooking in the kitchen. So I thought I will just make a quick video about a topic that is highly discussed, very hot in the vegan community and in the climbing community as well, namely weight loss. So this video is, I think, going to be part 1 of a 2-video series. In this one I just will throw out 5 tips, 5 tools, so to say, for you to get into control of your weight and to achieve weight loss on a sustainable basis. And in the second part, I think I'm going to go into a little bit more detail why these 5 tips or tools, whatever you want to call them, why they actually work.
Okay, so regarding that second part, I made follow-up videos, talking about my diet and stuff to this, but I never really called it a second part to this video. I never really made a second part to this video. I'm not sure really why, because I probably forgot, and I also didn't really have a lot of, ideas for which to make about this video. So we could call this the second part of this video, and I will also, of course, link this video then in the old video, and I will also link the old video in this video so that they are kind of connected.
Okay, or at least why I believe they work, because they work, that is for sure. I've seen tons of people who tried that out and had tremendous success with that. And why they actually work is something.
Here I linked some delayed follow-ups. Yes, these were the talks about diets that I had after this one, which already changed a little bit, the narrative of these opinions, but definitely not as much as it does now. So let's continue. That
I can only explain with common sense. Okay, I don't have any scientific basis for that. I will go a little bit into pseudoscience, if you want to say it like that. And
here I have to stop, because this is something that I get criticized a lot on, actually, also in the comment section of this video, I think, and in the comment section across all of my videos. I am not a very huge fan of nutritional science. Now, my educational background is actually biology. I studied biology. I made my bachelor in biology. I also studied 1 year into the master of biology, at which point I got bored by the stuff and basically quit the studying. Okay, I made a video about that as well, as you might know if you're following this channel for a longer time already. So the reason why I don't like nutritional science is because nutritional science contradicts itself all the time. Okay, so you've got a lot of plant-based vegan doctors promoting, of course, the plant-based stuff, promoting plant-based studies showing that plant-based diets reduce cancer risks, reduce stroke, heart attacks, diabetes, atherosclerosis, basically the whole arrangement of modern degenerative diseases. And then you've got the other side as well, okay? The keto crew, the paleo crew, the whatnot crew, okay, disproving that stuff on their studies. So there is really these two sides of the coin here, and I honestly think either there is an agenda, between these two groups. Of course there is, because ones want to push the one thing, the others want to push the other thing, and there's money involved there as well. And of course, another thing is, if you isolate one nutrient, for example, if you isolate one chemical and try to analyze what kind of effects this one chemical has inside of the body, then you're not even taking into account, did you cook that stuff? Did you eat it raw? Do you even have the control group, I mean, for example, just to give one example here, if you claim that meat is bad, for example, then have you really had a control group which only consumes raw meat? This sounds so off. I know for a lot of people, especially also in my audience, this sounds very off and very weird. Why would you even need that? Why would you consider eating meat raw now? The thing is, through our history, okay, through our tribal history, so to say, we actually probably consumed a lot of our meat raw. And if we take a look at modern, at still surviving, primitively living people out there in the wild, in the bush, they still consume a very high, almost all of their animal products raw, a very high percentage of their animal products raw. So the question that I have to ask myself then is, how can they be free of these degenerative diseases while they are eating all that stuff? Maybe that's because they are eating it raw. And why are these studies then not comparing to a control group that only eats raw meat? Well, there's a very simple answer to that. You cannot find 100 people in our Western civilization that continuously consume their meat raw. They just simply don't exist, okay? Because it's just a way off habit to do so. So you can't really compare those things to begin with, because you're lacking the control group. So there is an inherent weakness of nutritional science for a number of reasons, which is why I don't really rely on it in the first place, which is why I rely much more on my self-experiments and my own common sense, trying to explain the stuffs via this pathway. Now, the thing is also, as I said, because they are also very often isolating one nutrient and trying to find effects of this one nutrient. If you're taking out one nutrient out of this chemical complex here, it's just incredible, because there are so many interactions. It is so complex, and probably we haven't even discovered all nutrients that exist that make up our body yet. There is a very high chance that we didn't, because there are so many different ones. The possibilities for creating organic compounds via these C bonds, carbon bonds, are sheer endless. Okay, and for example, a very complex vitamin, the vitamin B12, which is a really complex, organic compound. It is huge, and it has a very important purpose in the body, but it's only discovered 40 years ago or something, 50, 60 years ago. Honestly, I don't know it now, but I'm pretty sure it's not more than 100 years ago, okay? So, to claim that we know it all in this kind of direction, with nutritional science, is kind of arrogant almost. And I wouldn't go so far to say that we know it all. It appears so because we have so many papers and so many studies nowadays about so many topics. But really, do they also contradict each other all the time? So how much are they really worth, And then we didn't even step into the whole subject of statistics, okay? I mean, statistics are like a bikini. What they reveal might be interesting, but what they conceal might be even more interesting, okay? So I find that this is a really cool, saying that is very true. So let's keep watching here.
A little bit of science, maybe a little bit of biochemistry, whatever. That's going to be part 2, okay? So, all right, let's start. If somebody would come up to me and say, hey, you look quite sporty, can you give me some tips? I want to lose some weight. I would first ask him or her, what is your actual goal? Do you want to achieve weight loss very fast and in the range of 2 to 3 kilos? Then just cut salt out of your diet. I mean, obviously you're going to lose just water weight, but you're going to lose 2 to 3 kilos when you're going from a heavy salt eater to a zero salt eater. If you want to lose...
About the salt thing, yes, this is correct. A lot of people are actually holding a lot of water weight due to their repetitive and continuous salt consumption because they consume a lot of processed foods. And as you know, in processed foods, there's a lot of salt in there. So you're going to carry naturally a lot of extra water on your body if you just, eat this salt all the time. And also if you're going out a lot and stuff like that. So depending on your body size, though, and on your body composition, 2 to 3 kilograms, it appears a bit much from my modern perspective. I would go with 1 to 2 kilos maybe, 1 to 2 kilos of water weight, depending on whether you're a relatively heavy person to begin with or not, whether you're a heavy salt consumer or not, This is the potential that you can lose through cutting salt out of your diet. However, cutting salt out of your diet completely is not always the best thing for all the people, okay? This is also something that I've realized. A lot of people seem to digest a lot better when they consume at least some sort of salt, with their food. Now, I don't really know if that is in an unnatural state and an unhealthy state to begin with. Okay, I cannot really tell that, because what I have to ask myself then is, what would these people have done like 50,000 years ago or something, okay? If they wouldn't have lived, close to the ocean, where they would have access to this ocean fish, which is also kind of salty, but also in a natural form, but when they would have lived in the inlands, I mean, we didn't have salt mines back then, okay? So we would have to get our salts from the, from the surroundings, from the animals, from the animal foods, as well as from the plant foods. And this is something that I've talked about previously as well, these naturally chelated minerals, that's where it's at. This is where your body actually can take from it what it needs, essentially. And this also comes very much in congruence with raw foods and stuff, because then the body really has the choice and all these kind of things, okay? So the salt topic is in itself already kind of complex, and I would say that a lot of people digest a lot better when they actually use salt, a surprisingly a lot of people. So this is also probably why salt found the way into our households and stuff, also because it tastes really good, okay? It makes a lot of things taste very good, which is also an indicator of, somehow the body likes salty stuff, okay? It was very rare, probably, a very short period of time ago in our, ancestry times. So we would have seeked out these naturally salty foods by our own, and we would have gotten it that way in. And nowadays we smash in the refined white table salt, which is probably, of course, not as healthy as getting the salt in naturally. However, cutting salt out completely, it's not that black and white,
weight quite fast or relatively fast, but not on a sustainable basis, then just restrict your calories. Just get into a caloric deficit, and with time you will, of course, lose weight, but it's not going to be sustainable. Your metabolism is going to suffer from that, and you will rebound, that's for sure.
Now, this is actually very correct. I'm talking about caloric deficit here and why it won't work long term. Now, the main thing that I didn't know back then was the importance of eating frequency, really. Okay, when we take a look at caloric deficit, of course, if you run a caloric deficit, then you are going to lose weight. Yeah, this is just physically impossible to hold your weight or to even gain weight on a caloric deficit. If you burn more calories than you eat, you're gonna lose weight, definitely. However, depending on your eating frequency, it is going to be determined what kind of weight you lose. If you keep your eating frequency really, really low, let's say, for example, like 1 meal a day, or you do a 48-hour fasting routine where you fast for 48 hours, then you eat once and like 3,000 calories, and then you fast again 48 hours. You're probably running a slight caloric deficit there because that's 1,500 calories per day, and most of us need more than 1,500 calories per day. But because the eating frequency is so low, your insulin levels drop so low in between those eating windows that your body, in the meantime, has full access to its fat stores, and it's gonna utilize them. Because as we've talked about previously in fasting episodes, insulin is the main, orienting hormone that your body uses in order to orient itself. Should I burn fat? Should I burn something else? Now the thing is, if your insulin is high, your body doesn't have access to your fat stores, because insulin high means storing, mode. You're in a storing mode. That means you want to actually add fat to your stores. Insulin low means releasing mode, releasing fats from your fat tissue into your system and use it up. So if your insulin is low all the time, you have access to these fat stores. If you consume these 3,000 calories, 100 calories every 3 hours or something, so that it adds up to 3,000 calories per 2 days as well, but then your insulin is always high and you're running a caloric deficit, your body doesn't have access to your fat tissue as much as if this insulin would be low all the time. And this is actually a very catabolic state, which you want to avoid if you want to lose weight in terms of fat, if you want to lose fat. If you're in that catabolic state, your insulin is high, but you're running a caloric deficit, you're going to burn through your muscle tissue. Okay, you're going to burn first through your glycogen, through your carbohydrate stores, and then you're going to burn through your muscle tissue because you don't have access to the fat stores, but the body has to burn something because it wants to survive, obviously. Then it burns through your muscle tissue, but not only that, because your body does not want to do that, it wants to avoid that actually, it's going to reduce your basal metabolic rate as a whole, okay? So you're gonna, reduce, you're gonna be tired all the time, you're gonna have a less metabolic rate, and once you go back to eating normally, you're gonna be, in this classical yo-yo effect, because you literally need less calories now to survive, because you've trained your body to do that because it wanted to avoid to burn through all your muscle, because it wants you to go hunt again and to go find food again. So this is the basic survival mechanism that is at work here. So it is really important to factor in eating frequency into these questions, The caloric deficit is not a good approach if you're eating all the time still. Caloric deficit, however, when it comes to fasting is a 100% caloric deficit. But because the insulin is low all the time, we have full access to our fat stores, and that's going to work out really, really well. And it has a couple of other benefits as well, but yeah, we're not going to go into that.
Okay,
now.
You will get into the yo-yo effect, and that's not going to work on a long...
I need to load my video. The internet situation is really not ideal here.